I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and today I'm speaking with John Lutz, the co-creator and Emmy-nominated star of the Mapleworth Murders, which is currently streaming on the Roku channel. John, you co-created this with Paula Paul, and who you've worked with for years. I'm curious, how did that working relationship between you two start?
Oh, wow. Well, I started at SNL in 2004, and she had already been working there since 96, 95, 96. So she'd been there forever. So she was like she would take anybody in, all the new writers, and she would kind of guide them along because she's very kind. And so she would take these floundering writers just being like, I don't know how to write for a show. And she would kind of help them out. And for some reason, our sense of humor kind of clicked. And we didn't write too much the first couple of years, but then after, no, actually it was the second year, because after Donald Trump hosted, we started writing scenes for Daryl Hammond to play Trump, because Paula noticed how he was always trying to direct the scenes that he was in as he was doing it. So then Paula and I just started to riff on that kind of stuff. I said riff. Oh my God. Oh, super cool hip guy talking about riffing in comedy. But anyway, Paula and I just kind of hit it off when we were writing those, because we would make ourselves laugh at all the stupid things that we can make Daryl say. And from there, we just kept working together as much as we could.
I imagine it must have been a little surreal when you started, after years of bouncing stuff off of each other for the character of Trump, that he got elected president.
Oh, we were so happy. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay, that was perfect. So where did the idea of doing this kind of spoof, Mapleworth Murders, where did the idea of doing this kind of spoof come from?
Well, honestly, it came from writer's block, because I was trying to come up with an idea for myself, and I just couldn't come up with anything. I was just trying to think of an outside project to do while I worked at Late Night with Seth Meyers, and I just couldn't come up with anything that I liked. And then my wife, Sue Galloway, who's also a writer and an actress, said, well, why don't you write something for Paula? Because you just kind of know her so well, and she's funny to you, and I think you could write something for her. So then I went off for 15 minutes and brainstormed just a bunch of ideas, came back to Sue and said, what about like an Agatha Christie type thing, murder mystery thing? And then Sue said, well, what if it's like Murder, She Wrote, and she's like playing Jessica Fletcher's part. And then it just clicked. And then I was like, you could immediately see Paula in an outfit walking around Cabot Cove, solving all these crimes. And then I asked Paula, and fortunately she said yes.
So she's also listed as a co-creator of the show. What input did she bring in the initial stages of developing the show?
Sure. I pretty much pitched the idea to her, and then I went and wrote like a skeleton of what the pilot was, which is basically the first three parts, because they're broken up into like 8 to 10 minute segments. So I wrote up the bones of it, and then I would just send it to Paula, and then she can crank out jokes like nobody's business. So she would take my script and add like 2 jokes to every joke I had in there. She would everything would the language of the whole town, she can just pepper it with like her amazing comedy dust. And then we would just bounce it back and forth until we finally had the end script. So I'm glad I didn't say riff again. Oh, Jesus.
You'll be fine. I will be the hack who says that word. Okay. Okay. Speaking of riffing, I was talking with JB Spoo earlier, and he was talking about how there were, because of the nature of all these people that you had in the show, that there was by nature quite a bit of improvising going on especially after the first take. And I was curious as to what some of your favorite improvised moments were from filming this.
Well, it's funny. JB did the most improvising of, I think, anybody, because you can just let him go and he'll find something that you never thought of. I think my favorite thing that ended up in the show that we actually kept was that during the interrogation scene with Tim Meadows, just out of the blue, right before we started filming, JB stood up in the corner and then started talking to me like we were talking on each other's walkies, and he was just standing in the corner, and then he just kept doing that until he said, "Okay, I'm going to walk over there now." And then he just walked and sat down. So we had to switch how we filmed it so that we could get him doing that, so that we could see him walking and sitting down. And it was just so much fun to me, because half the time while he's improvising, I'm trying to catch up to what he's talking about, because I don't know where he's going to go with it. I know it's always going to be somewhere fun. So for me as an actor, I wasn't doing that much acting, because I really was like trying to figure out what JB was talking about.
And it's hard to keep up with them.
Oh, he's so funny. He's the funniest.
So the show was incredibly funny. It's great that it's now on the Roku channel. Is there any chance we might be getting a second season of Mapleworth Murders?
Well, I would hope. That's Paula and mine's hope. It's our hope that we hope so. It's basically up to Roku, because it just got on the 13th of August. So I think they have to just see how well it does with their viewers. And hopefully if enough people see it and enjoy it, which I hope they do, then Roku will let us know. And then hopefully we'll be able to make more episodes of it. It's funny, we have like 3 or 4 episodes in the hopper that are like ready to go. So the second they say go, we can kind of jumpstart it.
I also mentioned earlier that there were so many great cast members here. Everything from insane stars like Tina Fey and Maya Rudolph and Andy Samberg, but also having people like Nicole Byer and Drew Tarver, who I adore. Were there? I'm curious. With so many people saying yes, were there any celebrities or people that you wanted to have in this that you just weren't, that for one reason or ever weren't able to be in this?
Well, we tried. I mean, it was tough because we were shooting over Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's the perfect time to shoot a show. So we had this really small time period. So I can't really even remember. I mean, there were people we asked, but mostly it was due to the fact that we were shooting in LA and they couldn't do it because they were in New York or because they were going away for Christmas. But it was tough too, because like most of the people that you see who got killed off, we were like, we can only have this person for one day. So let's put like Andy Samberg. It's like, he can only do one day. Let's bring him in and then kill him. And then that'll be, so that's what we did with those. It was a puzzle that luckily we were able to figure out all the pieces in scheduling wise. It was a massive puzzle of murdering off celebrities.
And I'm also curious. So you said you were shooting this over Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I'm guessing post-production happened, at the start of the new year. Did the pandemic affect that at all? The post-production process? We lucked out because it started before the pandemic. Editing started before the pandemic started, but then it kind of hit midstream, and then it pushed us back a little bit. We were supposed to be premiere in like April of 2020, but then it was pushed to August just because everything kind of got pushed. So it messed with us a little bit, but then basically I was in New York calling in and watching edits online with people. So it made it a little different, but it was still fun to do. You're still kind of it felt like you were in the room with most people. So, thinking back, a lot of people will probably remember you as playing Lutz on 30 Rock. And
Mhm.
I'm curious as to where did the idea come from to have this character just simply named after you?
Well, I was working at SNL at the time. Tina was the head writer, and I knew her from Chicago. So we knew each other and we were friends. And she had asked me and some other writers if we wanted to be extras in the pilot. And I said, yes, of course, I want to be an extra. So I just ended up, if you watch the pilot, you'll see me there, but I don't have any lines. I don't have any, it's like maybe one reaction shot of me at a table. And then when it got picked up, they were like, you know what, we want to have you for this one episode where we call Tina the C word. We want to have a writer do that, but we don't want it to have be one of our main characters. So we're going to keep you around, and we kind of like the name, the Lutz name to it. She liked saying Lutz in a very angry way. So she was like, she basically said, is it okay if we keep your name Lutz? I was like, I of course. Then I won't have any problems on set, and people, if they call my name, I'll still know they're talking to me. So they wanted to have a villain for that C word episode, and they liked the idea of somebody being like with a name that really, my parents weren't too wild about it, but what can you do?
Where did the ideas come from to have the character? I mean, all the characters progressively get more ridiculous on 30
Yes.
Rock, and that's the point of the show. But how did you feel about how the character progressed over those years, including, I believe, played your own mother at one point?
Yes. Yes. It was fun. It was weird because I looked like a fat version of my sister. So that was weird. And it was, I liked it because in the end, on the final episode, I got to have this really cool monologue that they wrote where I really got to stand up for myself. And it was kind of fun for me, at least as an actor, to go from someone who was an extra who just did like a favor for Tina to be in this episode, and then have them have me around the whole time and then give me this wonderful like gem of a monologue where I got to really blow it all out. So it was really a lot of fun. I enjoyed the twists and turns of that weirdo.
So, as I said, you received an Emmy nomination for short actor in a short form comedy or drama series.
Yes.
And it's not your first Emmy nomination. You've been nominated several times as a writer.
Yes.
But this is your first as an actor, correct?
Yes, it's first as an actor.
And so I'm curious as to what it was like learning that you had scored this nomination, as well as learning that you were nominated alongside JB, who you've worked with for years.
Well, it was pretty crazy because I was not expecting this at all. Not at all, because Quibi had kind of gone away. The show was watched and some people liked it, but I didn't really expect anything to come of that. And I was online looking to see if Late Night with Seth Meyers was nominated for writing because we had been nominated before. So I looked online and it's like, oh, you know what? I'll check and see if Paula was nominated for Mapleworth, just because I was like, people know her, so they probably will might give her a nomination. And then she was, and I was super excited. And it's like, oh, I'll check who got the other ones. And then it was like, oh, JB. And then it was like, and so it was surreal and cool. And I didn't really know how to feel because it was such a surprise. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited that the other two of them also, because they're also amazing, and I've known them since the SNL days. So it's really cool to have a show that we really love doing, have the three of us all be nominated.
Well, John, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best at next month's Creative Arts ceremony. And to all of our viewers, please like this video, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to go to goldderby.com and use the Gold Derby app to make your predictions. See if you can outsmart the top prognosticators in Hollywood. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you so much.